pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to an individual's job performance or character, pre-deprivation hearings, non-renewal of teacher contracts remain sealed.
So moved.
Thank you.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to collective bargaining memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and Charahoe Education Support Professionals pertaining to Juneteenth holiday remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached. I recommend that minutes relating to the privacy of students and their records, approval of home instruction requests remain sealed.
So moved.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to collective bargaining revisions to Articles 13 and 14 of the Certified Staff Collective Bargaining Agreement remain sealed until such time as school committee approval is granted.
We need someone to move.
So moved.
Favor? Thank you.
There were 6 votes taken in executive session. Non-renewals, 11 in favor, with Chambers, Champlin, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Luzon, Lyle, Phelps, Pouliot, Purcell, and Reynolds in favor. Second vote was executive session minutes of April 19th, the MOA with NEA, ESP. There were 9 in favor and 2 abstained, with Chambers, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Luzon, Lyle, Phelps, Purcell, and Reynolds in favor, and Champlin and Pouliot abstaining. Vote 3 was executive session minutes, April 9th, with the MOA for the school resource officer in the town of Richmond. 9 in favor and 2 abstained, with Chambers, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Luzon, Lyle, Phelps, Purcell, and Reynolds in favor, and Champlin and Pouliot abstaining. 4 was executive session minutes, April 9th, for homeschool requests. 9 in favor and 2 abstaining, with Chambers, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Luzon, Lyle, Phelps, Purcell, and Reynolds in favor, and Champlin and Pouliot abstaining. Homeschool requests, 11 in favor, with Chambers, Champlin, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Luzon, Lyle, Phelps, Pouliot, Purcell, and Reynolds in favor. And number 6 was returned to open session, 11 in favor, with Chambers, Champlin, Colasante, Giusti, Hopkins, Luzon, Lyle, Phelps, Pouliot, Purcell, Reynolds.
So we have a lot of recognitions tonight, so that's wonderful because we have many, many amazing students. So please join me in congratulating and thanking the following. First, I would like to let everyone know that our valedictorian for the class of 2024 is Erin Van Housen. Erin is not with us this evening. Both the valedictorian and salutatorian will be recognized again at senior awards night, so we'll let you join us for that as well. And I do see in attendance, I believe I see in the L Clark. So L is our salutatorian, second in the class of 2024. L, I'm going to have the citation, which says, the certificate of commendation presented to L Clark, Charahoe class of 2024, salutatorian on this 14th day of May 2024, signed by myself and Catherine Giusti. We also had a surprise when we announced the salutatorian and valedictorian. They come down, their parents are waiting for them in the lobby of the high school. And we let them know that they are officially number 1 and number 2 of their class. So great job. For those watching, Elle will be attending the University of Rhode Island next year after she graduates on June 5th. So next up is our Rhode Island Future Farmers of America, also known as FFA, for their state convention winners. We do have some in attendance. So when I do call your name, if you are here, please come up to get your letter. So first, in the category of employment skills, leadership development, we have chapter division, Ariana Colette, first place, and Lola Hernandez, third place. Lola. Then we have our green hand division, Genevieve Ogren, first place. Next category was prepared public speaking leadership development event. Our chapter division, Lola Hernandez was second place. Then we have extemporaneous public speaking leadership development event. Chapter division was Charlotte Kona, second place. So if you stopped by our FFA plant sale this weekend, you know, they all put a lot of work into that as well, but I always got my plants, and I definitely invest back. They do a nice job. And then we had leadership development event, Green Hand Division. We have Shailene Moosh, first place. Genevieve Ogren, second place. And Kylie Pacino, third place. Next, we have veterinary science career development team. Lola Hernandez, Charlotte Kona, Lauren Levesque, and Rachel Belucci. Yeah, they have both. Yeah, everything's. Then we have Lauren. Job. Next, we have our FFA Alumni College Scholarships. So for Ariana Colette, Salve Regina University, Environmental Studies. And then we have Theodore Sonaki, Sunny Hopeskill, John Deere Construction and Forestry Program. The Rhode Island FFA state degree awarded by the State Association and is open to members in grade 11 or higher who are involved in chapter leadership, state level activities, and community service, and who complete a set number of hours of instruction and SAE growth and productivity. Though that goes to Ariana Colette, Theodore Zanecki, Lola Hernandez, Charlotte Kona, and Grace Marcotte. FFA students at L, if you could also go get your ticket. Great. Start there. Then get ready. I can take my breath for the next round of recognitions. I do love it. Stop. I know, I see. Mrs. Pepper, Mrs. you don't want to get in there? Jump in. Dr. Camille, can we get one more with Mrs. Pepper? She tried to hide from us. Thank you so much. Okay, so next we have up our high school freshman, Adriana Janot, for a no-hitter with 16 strikeouts to lead Charahoe past North Kingstown for a 5-0 in Division I softball game. She recorded her second consecutive shutout in as many days, a 3-hitter with 16 strikeouts and a 9-0 win against St. Mary Academy Bayview. She then struck out a season-high 19 batters in a 2-2 tie against Moses Brown. She has struck out 88 batters in the last 6 games with the Chargers' record of 5-0-1 over the stretch. Congratulations. She's only a freshman. She's got a long way to go.
Ooh, that's great.
Next up, we have Ian Dunham, shot a 2 under par 33 on the front 9 at Shelter Harbor Golf Course, leading Charahoe to its season-opening Southern Division win against Narragansett and Westerly. Island Interscholastic League presented high school senior Emily Ballard with the Rhode Island Interscholastic League Distinguished Achievement Award for her exemplary achievements over the past year. Congratulations to Emily. High school junior Brandon Thorpe's artwork titled The Tyranny of Avarice was awarded an honorable mention at the regional level of the Scholastic Art Awards and was awarded the staff favorite in the annual Senator Reed Art Competition. This is the second year he was the staff favorite in this competition. Junior Matthew Boyd has been selected from a highly competitive applicant pool of over 1,500 students to participate in the STEM Enhancement in Earth Science Internship Program. This program is conducted in collaboration with the University of Texas Center for Space Research and NASA, and Matthew was placed on the Mars Rover Resource Utilization Team. He will spend most of July in Texas, fully sponsored by NASA, and will earn certification in Python programming. The parents have expressed their gratitude to two of Charahoe's exceptional teachers, Karen Parsons, our high school science, and Matthew Clark, CTC Engineering and Drafting and Design, for their support and encouragement for Matthew. It's pretty impressive. I think everyone that is not something that is easily done by many. So congratulations, that was a giant. Nice job. Next up, we have middle school boys and girls track meet against Westerly, Jamestown, Monsignor Clark, and Compass Middle Schools. Leo Haxton took first place in the 3,000. Ryder Spears qualified for the state tournament in the high jump, and Jackson Nickerson won the shot put and discus. Erin Van Housen was the first female athlete in program history to complete at the prestigious Penn Relays. She finished 12th in the high school championship mile with an outdoor personal best and school record time of 4:58.71. At the Southern Division tri-meet at Coventry, Lily Baxter won the high jump and long jump. Rico Thompson took first in shot put and discus. Lydia Tabor was first in the 100. Emily Brown finished first in the 300 hurdles and second in the 100 hurdles. Erin Van Housen took first in the 800, and Elle Clark picked up a pair of seconds in the 100 and long jump, and third in the 100 hurdles. Nice job. We also have Emily Brown finish second in the pentathlon to establish a new program mark at the Glen Locks Games in White Plains, New York. She also recorded 3 additional second place finishes in the 800, 100 hurdles and high jump, and a third place finish in the long jump. Erin Van Housen placed 14th in the 800 with a personal best and new school mark 2:15.33 to break her own record set in 2022. She also finished 5th in the 2,000 meter steeplechase. Elle Clark placed 8th overall, which included a 4th place finish in the shot put, and Lily Baxter tied for 3rd place in the high jump. Congratulations. Eli Spazzato won the 200 in a school record time at the Classville Classic at Mount Pleasant High School and finished 4th in the 100. He was a triple event winner at the Southern Division tri-meet at Coventry, finishing first in the 100, 200, and 400. Isaac Graham won the 800. Ethan McCann took the 1,500, and Charlie Allenson won the 3,000. Maverick Marone won the long jump, and Adam Lenahan took the triple jump. Except high school girls track finished second at the Southern Division Championships. Erin Van Housen won the 3,000. Sonia Beasley was first in the high jump. Emily Brown finished second in 4 events: 100 hurdles, high jump, 300 hurdles, and long jump. And Rico Thompson had a pair of seconds in the discus and shot put. Jules White took 3rd in the javelin. Lily Baxter was 3rd in the triple jump, and Elle Clark was 4th in the 100 hurdles and long jump. Next, we have high school boys track. Elias Pizzato won 3 individual events and the Duke Award as the most valuable performer at the Southern Division Championships. He set a new school and meet record with his first place finish in the 400 at a 49.4 and picked up first in the 100 and 200. He also anchored the 4x400 meter relay team that included Ethan McCann, Tom Golis, and Jared Pelletier to the 3rd place finish. Charlie Allenson, Grayson Moffitt, Cam Idem, and Isaac Graham were 3rd in the 4x800, and Tom Golis placed 3rd in the 1500, and Nick Willis took 4th in the high jump. Continued to break records this past Saturday at the 56th annual Glen Locks Games. His 7th place finish in the 400 set a school mark at 48.89 and broke his own school mark at 49.40 that he set at the Southern Division Championships. Tom Golis, Isaac Graham, Ethan McCann, and Jared Pelletier finished 2nd in the 4x800 at the St. German Invitational last Saturday. Ballard scored his 100th career goal in the Division II boys lacrosse game against South Kingstown. Poplawski recorded his 1,000th assist in leading the high school boys volleyball team to a Division I sweep over South Kingstown. He scored 7 goals, including her 100th career goal in a Division II girls lacrosse victory over Cumberland for 18-6 win. School Science Olympiad winners and our advisor, Tricia Whipple, won the following awards. They may be available to come next school committee meeting, but they are Titus Castrato and Ian McInnes, 3rd place in Dynamic Planet. Sean Dorgan and Angelo Guido, 3rd place in Fossils. Luke DeFedel and Cameron Cockshell, 2nd place for Fast Facts. Luke DeFedel, gold for the Science Bowl, and team of Angelo Guido, Ava Bertrand, Titus Strataro, Cameron Cockshell, Brett Creamer, Preston Davis, Sonia Dropick, James Haxton, Tucker McClincy, Louis Dancause, Luke DeFedel, Ian McInnes, Sean Dorgan, Noah Van Dever, and Keelan Valander, 5th place at the States. Next up, our Special Olympics presented to Elwood Johnson, outstanding, our Chief of Police in Richmond, outstanding service award to 2 local police officers, Hopkinton Patrol Office Matt Hindle and Westerly Corporal Gregory Burbank, in honor of longtime Super Plunge organizer, Richmond Police Chief Elwood Johnson. Congratulations to Chief Johnson and Officers Hindle and Burbank. Thanks to high school theater director Rebecca Burns, assistant director Alex Smith, and vocal coach Morgan Bott for their amazing performance of The Little Mermaid. A special thank you to the members of the Charahoe Building Committee. I wanted to recognize our fabulous teachers and our staff for last week's Teacher Appreciation Week. While they are appreciated every day, last week was a time where we spent every day showing them our appreciation. So thank you to our teachers and staff.
I would just, before we do public forum, I'd like to just say that the recognitions that you just listed, the athletes, the academics, so recognize Charahoe. I am so proud to be affiliated with this school district. It has become a district to be reckoned with statewide, New England-wide, and nationally, and I am so proud of them. Thank you all.
Nice job.
Now we're in the public forum section of our meeting. Procedure is you sign up if you'd like to speak at public forum. So I'd like to start with George Dombey from Hope Valley. Come to the podium, I would appreciate it.
Hi, I'm George Dombey from Hope Valley. I brought some show and tell. Can you give me a minute to set it up? And how much time would I have?
So public forum, we usually keep between 2 and 4 minutes.
2 and 4 minutes.
So if there's something you want to discuss longer, you can talk to somebody about maybe putting them on a future agenda.
Okay, we'll do it 2 or 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Louise Dinsmore of Richmond.
Good evening. And Catherine, I know that you'll tell me if I'm going or jumping into another part of the agenda, but I just had a quick question about, there was an article that appeared on May 10th in a publication called What's Up Newport. And I think the superintendent may have been interviewed for that article. And it said in the article that the superintendent will be asking the school committee to approve seeking General Assembly approval for the district to pursue a $15 million bond. And it also said school officials in Charahoe will now look to what comes next. Among other options, the superintendent said might be a plan that would consider building one elementary school. Is that later okay, sorry about that. Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, I wanted to bring up the schools, but also I want to bring up the special ed. If you don't have money for special needs to give the children what they need, or students, what they need, then you don't have the money to build the 3 new elementary schools. Plus, the Kingston Hill and Compass beat your elementary schools by a mile. They have a blue ribbon in education, and the Met beat your high school. Also, what are you doing about the bullying that's going on in the middle school? Because as far as I know, nothing's being done. It was done, something was being done when Mr. Argiri was there. It was somewhat controlled, not all the way. My youngest son had to help his friends. I want to know, are you going to get rid of that principal who does nothing about the bullying? Thank you.
My name is Brian Marvell from Hopkinton. I just wanted to make a statement about this past week's events. I will say I'm very disappointed about the outcome of Tuesday's bond vote. But that in our democratic process, we as citizens must accept the outcome. What I am opposed to is how we arrived at that outcome. We had community members that approached elderly residents and told them they would lose their homes because taxes would go up. I even saw a post where a resident had told their tenants that if their rent would be increased as a result of a yes vote. Consider that, or those tactics, deliberate misinformation and voter intimidation. Now I'd like to address the statements and behaviors of members of this school committee. We have principals on our school committee. Lost my spot, sorry. We have principles and ethical standards for school committee members. And Section 1 states, committee members are to recognize that their first and greatest concern must be for the educational welfare of our students. Let me repeat that for those people who didn't hear me or choose to ignore that one. Number 1 is for their main and greatest concern is for the educational welfare of our students attending our public schools. There are members on this committee that have chose to ignore Section 1 of that code of conduct. And here are a few examples. I've seen a screenshot on Facebook from Ms. Hopkins stating, until we are free to have school choice and bankrupt these schools, we will tackle the beast head on. And I see no reason to support these indoctrination studies with my tax dollars. I would like Ms. Pauley to explain what she considers indoctrination studies in our schools, because I can only guess that she's speaking about conspiracy theories that don't really exist. In a comment to Ms. Chambers at a past school committee meeting, Ms. Pauley also made clear that Q symbols and Confederate flag attire would be appropriate in our schools, and if banned, would be discrimination. Because why not post conspiracy theories and racist symbols in our schools? That would certainly be a good message to send to our students. Did I say something wrong? So if I understand correctly, Ms. Pauley thinks it's okay for outrageous conspiracy theories and racist symbols be displayed in our schools, all the while being opposed to attire that may support the gay community or indigenous students. And then we have Ms. Pauley violating Section 16 of the code. She denies calling one of our school principals a carpetbagger, which I checked, and she did not, in fact, call our principal a carpetbagger. But she did follow it up with a caption that said, wouldn't it be a shame if someone would get creative and Photoshop over a cartoon of a carpetbagger, indicating she would find it funny to Photoshop our principal's face on that cartoon. Then the comment of Joe Gencarelli wanting to be king of his new kingdom if the bond would pass. I have seen numerous inappropriate posts and comments and screenshots, and I have them all here, made in public on her secret website and on her secret website to justify her. And I personally think that would justify her disqualification and removal from this committee. But enough about Ms. Pauley and her qualifications, or should I say lack thereof. Let's move on to Mr. Champlin. Also in violation of Section 1 of the Code of Conduct. If I remember correctly, Mr. Champlin made a motion to move the bond to vote, all while he was going on to campaign against the bond. He even went as far as to say that anybody or anyone with a testicular fortitude could come and discuss the bond with him personally. Kind of like a bully in a schoolyard. Now, I watched Mr. Champlin at the meetings leading up to this bond, and he's sitting there not saying a word. Why would he not speak up at the meeting when Anthony from Build RI made his pitch to use union workers? But afterward, he was more than willing to make disparaging post afterward online. At the building committee, Mr. Champlin sat quietly with nothing to say, though I may add, while at the meeting, I received a text from a friend that said Mr. Champlin had sent out a robocall against the bond vote while he was at the meeting. And I think Mr. Champlin owes all of the taxpayers an explanation as to why he would be on a building committee for buildings that he so adamantly opposed to being built. Mr. Champlin also posted on Ms. Hopkins' closed Facebook, "I can't wait to see what's gonna come my way after this next week of ads, mailers, and phone calls. It's gonna be great." And here we have a school committee member celebrating and taking pride in the fact that he is screwing over the school district. And let's move on to Mr. Phelps. I don't really know much about Mr. Phelps or what he says, because much of what he does say is pretty incoherent. The only thing that I've actually learned about him is that he has a dislike for transgender persons. These members mentioned in my statement have violated ethical standard number 1, which is to recognize that the first and greatest concern must be to the educational welfare of the students attending our public schools. 2, every one of them posted excuses against the bond, but not one was for the educational welfare of the students. And I'll make one last comment. In the code of conduct that I've seen for the Charahoe School District, there are 17 codes, but there is not one for discipline, expelling, or removal of members who don't abide by the code. And I think at this point, with the division that's going on here, that there should be an amendment made to the code of conduct, because what I've seen in the last few weeks, it just doesn't fly with me. We'll leave it at that.
The first item under our policies is academic requirements for high school graduation. This is a revision. I am recommending approval of this revision to the policy, which has been reviewed this evening by policy subcommittee. Just to be clear, these changes are a direct result of the alignment to the revised state requirements for graduation. Regardless of being in the policy, we would have to follow them. So we're just making sure that we align the policy with the new state rules.
Second. Questions on the revisions? Just a clarification. So if the student takes a world language in middle school, they have to take it in 7th and 8th for it to count as 1 year. The two. Sorry.
So it's different for middle school than
It
it
is
for high
different.
school.
So they have to take both
Right.
years.
Yeah,
They do, because both years constitute
as
one.
one.
Yes.
So it goes a bit slower.
because they don't
pace.
have it up, right, the way the periods work and the amount of time
Correct.
is different than what,
Okay, great.
so to make sure that they meet the time that the freshman would meet.
So
That's why
if they
it's two.
take both years, they've completed 1 year of high school language, and they only have to take 1 year after. Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Thanks for clarifying.
It has to be the same language.
Has to
It
be the
year
same
two
language,
of the
yeah.
same-
Questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you. The next item is the attendance policy. This revision, I am recommending approval. It's also due to the update of the state regulations requirements for graduation as it related to seat time, and now this does align. So I am recommending approval of the revisions. Policy subcommittee reviewed this as well.
Questions on this policy? Questions? All those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
Okay, the next item for business, A, field trip requests. I am recommending approval of the following contingent upon compliance with our policy. Request of our Skills USA advisor, Lieutenant Robert Wild, for 18 students and 4 chaperones to travel to the Skills USA National Championship in Atlanta, Georgia, from June 23rd, 2024 to June 29, 2024.
Questions on the field trip? Favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
The next one, field trip request is a request from the Future Business Leaders of America advisor, Bethany McLeod, for 7 students and 2 chaperones to travel to the FBLA National Competition in Orlando, Florida, from June 28th, 2024 till July 3rd, 2024. Approval of this request will include a transfer of $5,500 from the Science, Technology, and Engineering and Math STEM Department field trip line to the FBLA Student Activity Fund account.
Some good luck.
The next field trip request is the request of Coach Catherine McGeehan for 12 to 14 students and 2 chaperones to travel to the Smithtown West Volleyball Tournament in Hauppauge, New York, from September 20th through 21st, 2024.
Questions? Unanimous, thank you.
The next item is the memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and the Charahoe Education Support Professionals pertaining to the June 19th holiday. I recommend approval of the MOA between the Charahoe Regional School District and the Charahoe Education Support Professionals pertaining to the new federal state Juneteenth holiday, since it falls within the employee's work year.
Questions on this? It's in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
The next item is agreement with Rhode Island Student Assistance Services. I am recommending approval of this agreement with RISAS for the Student Assistance Program Project Success Substance Abuse Prevention from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. This is a support that we've done every year. It's an annual review.
So moved.
Questions? Just one quick. What kind of school-wide awareness programs did they run this past year?
So actually,
Sorry.
this spot. You know about the middle school or the high school, because we have both.
I was thinking middle school, but I'll go with both.
You asked for school-wide?
Yeah.
Yep, so we did an assembly that really emphasized smart, safe decisions in terms of getting into a vehicle with an impaired driver. And we targeted certain grade levels for that assembly. That was through our RISAS program. We've also done outreach to advisories, more targeted, smaller settings with specific grade levels when it comes to prevention.
We're also collaborating with the Wellbeing Collaborative, which prior to the Charahoe Youth Task Force was called. So they do our work. So they also go attend those meetings to make sure that we are now, even with Westerly, we are all working together as a village.
Any awareness programs at the middle school, especially
We ha-
targeting vaping?
Yes, we have actually started grades 5 through 8 have done programs around the vaping and substance abuse. We've actually sent out letters to our families. I think we did one back in December and follow up, but both Ms. Buzz and Ms. Susan make sure that we brought that down back to grade 5. Actually, that was a recommendation from our students that originally, I think it was when I first came here, it was 7th and 8th, but now we can.
And they've also collaborated with our peer-to-peer mental health program that also brought an additional assembly. That's when URI athletes came and spoke about, again, prevention, smart decision-making, and mental health.
Thank you. Questions?
Just to clarify right through this, did I read somewhere it was an opt-in or opt-out in this?
I don't know.
Okay. That there was an opt-out option for parents?
Oh, for the assemblies. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I thought
okay.
you were talking about the contract. Yep, it was like they had permissions.
Okay.
Maybe this is a good time for me to mention that I did participate on that all-day Saturday mental health workshop, and that was excellent also. And I understand most of the staff has been trained on that. Is that
But
right?
that's different than this.
It's different, but it's,
All,
I mean,
yeah, support for mental health.
yeah. But I mean, substance abuse was rolled into that as well. And so there's a lot of training for teachers to recognize different things. It's great.
Any other questions? Ma'am?
Yes, I was Goldie Williams, Richmond. I was wondering why the transition program is not in with the Wellness Collaborative with the kids at Cala or any special ed students, so they can transition into normal life, professional life.
That,
Because I know they do it at Exeter, West Greenwich, because I go to the bingo on Wednesdays at the Arcadia Y.
So Ms. Williams, that's not what we're talking about right now. So it's a great question if you want to follow up, but that's not what this agenda item is.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Linda? No? All right. Those in favor? And those opposing or abstaining?
Okay, so the next item D, Charahoe Regional High School and Charahoe Career and Technical Center, 2024-2025 Program of Studies. There were a few minor revisions to the high school CTC program that was approved back February 15th. I have provided only the pages that have changes, either strike through or red print. If you'd like to review the entire document, it is posted on our website, and you can go back to the meeting minutes on February 15th. I am recommending approval of the revisions to the high school CTC 2024-2025 Program of Studies. Questions?
Yeah.
I have a question. It seems like when we get to page 64, on every page on the third program, there seems to be a red sentence that said this course will fulfill RIDE readiness graduation requirements for financial literacy.
Correct. We already have
So
the
that-
financial literacy.
I get that. I just, like engineering, drafting, and design 3, I'm just trying to figure out how does that fulfill the financial literacy requirement.
Because instead of being a separate course, it's embedded
It's
within
embedded
their
in it?
CTC.
Perfect, thank you. So,
Yep. Correct. Questions? In favor?
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Item E, the White House FY25 CDS grant application for secondary special education community engagement. I am recommending approval of the submission of a White House FY25 CDS grant application in the amount of $110,000 for secondary special education community engagement to purchase 2 12-passenger vans for our middle and high school students to bring our students into the community regularly for community engagement opportunities and experiences.
so moved.
Questions?
What do you currently do for the special needs students? Do you have vans or do you rent a bus?
We
to
have
do
our
these?
current vans right now, based on the number of our requirements, and as you know, we're regional, we're seeing a higher need, because if we have to get the bus, it obviously it's a much larger cost. And in the end, purchase of the 2 vans will allow, so for example, Ms. Lightfritz is updating our transition work, so she wants weekly and daily opportunities for our students to be able to access. And if the CAL is already out and the high school and CTCs at FAA and Skills USA, there's not an opportunity, so we're trying to mitigate who needs what, when, and when. This will allow us to make sure that our transition programs and our special education and community engagement have daily access.
Okay, I guess my question was just in terms of cost benefit analysis compared to
Oh, yeah.
renting a
I mean,
school
Ned can
bus
tell you how much a school
compared
bus-
to the insurance that would cost and the registration fees for these 2 vans and such.
Get it?
You don't have to.
Yeah, but buses run around 400 plus per day. To give you an idea of yeah, because you have staff. So it is more effective, particularly if it's a staff member who's able to drive. Chauffeur's license, I think, is what we require. It's going to be more effective, and that can just come and go.
Schedule.
Regular daily schedules.
Yeah.
Questions?
Yes.
No, this is for the vans.
Just the vans, so that they come to the property.
The amount that we would save based on the field request and the day-to-day, definitely cover it, based on the number of opportunities, especially with our 18 to 21 population transition or work experiences.
So you could use that to help kids get to work? Yeah.
Well,
Jobs.
they're internships.
Internships, right, okay. Okay, and there's already,
one or two Calavans, is that?
Yep, and they're used every day.
All the time, yeah, so this, you'd have a fleet of four?
We
Or
have
what would be your
one
fleet?
for the high school, one for CTC, and then we have the two for county.
So you'd have six?
If we
No,
had.
now
if-
you'd have four, okay,
If, but now we have.
got it, thanks.
Just to clarify, the first two were purchased by the Calicat, what is that?
Wait, the
C-
CSIP
C-
grant,
C-
the
C-
comprehensive
grant,
school
so it
food planning
basically
grant.
that was.
We actually also have a grant, fuel and other costs in a different grant.
Those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
Item F, White House FY25 CDS grant application for academic math and ELA tutoring. I am recommending approval of the submission of the FY25 CDS grant application in the amount of $10,000 for academic tutoring from September 1 to June 30th, 2025 to close achievement gaps in math and English language arts at the middle school level.
Questions on this one? Those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
The next item is done annually. It's the school improvement team member approval. I have reviewed the list and have found that each school's membership adheres to our policy and the state law. I recommend approval of the school improvement team membership as submitted.
So. Somebody move it?
So moved.
Oh, thank you. And Linda seconds.
Questions? Those in favor? Yes, tonight, guys.
Okay, the next item H, budget transfers. I recommend approval of the transfers for May 14th, 2020.
Second.
Questions?
It's really an update. Oh, no, I'm sorry, budget transfers, I
Yep,
apologize.
transfers, yeah.
Questions on the transfers? Yes.
So what system say it again? Oh,
Is that emergency repair or is that just something?
Yeah, we had a failure. Yeah,
Questions on the transfers?
sorry.
Those in favor?
Guys, you know.
That's unanimous, thank you.
Item I is our FY just assisted budget update. I'll have Ned just go through the highlights very quickly.
Yeah, not much has changed since last month's report. We don't yet have new healthcare update in. But we do anticipate if it continues on with the trend, we'll be right around 500,000 over budget. And if we can hold steady there, we'll know what we're up against for the balance of the year. We received a food truck. That was also another grant / supplemental opportunity with RIDE. That food truck is in place. We are working on operating plans in cooperation with the CTC program. Capital funds, we'll be talking about that coming up in terms of different options to fund now that we know the decision of the bond. Lunch fund, that's also going to be future action. But we've got a contract proposal for next year. Looks like we'll have another loss next year, but considering where our fund balance is, we're still in good shape. We can maintain pricing. But next year, we do anticipate that we'll be coming to you for changes. And student activity funds, nothing remarkable.
Questions for Dan? Yes.
So I did have a comment to make, which first of all is, again, thank you for providing these budget updates. It's something that we've requested on the budget subcommittee, and that has been really helpful to see the budget as it unfolds through the year, not just during budget time. But a few of the things here really show the yearly maintenance that goes into our buildings, which is something that came up a lot as we got closer and closer to the bond vote. There were people who used the talking point that the district had deferred maintenance, that we were neglecting buildings or not performing repairs as they were needed, and that's completely false. There was even an email from the Forgotten Taxpayer Political Action Committee that had a paragraph of incorrect numbers that were false. And I want to take a moment. Yeah, it's all in the budget.
Budget update.
I want to take a moment and just illustrated that the proof and the receipts,
Excuse me.
The
stop
proof-
being disruptive. Yeah, it's fine.
the proof and the receipts are here. It shows the middle school boiler that was needed. As we just talked about in the transfers, shows the HVAC repairs that were needed at Charlestown. If you have questions, there are answers, and the best source for those is Ned. He put together the summary, as he has for many months now. And it continually shows the comprehensive practices of the school district and that we commit to yearly maintenance, capital, and debt repayment to our schools and best practice. Thank you.
Okay. The next item is our CTC roof RFP schematic design submission to RIDE. So SLAM is here to present the draft specification and cost estimate for replacement of roughly half of the CTC roof. I am recommending approval to submit this. This is part of the requirement for RIDE that you have to also approve the schematic before we move forward with the design. I'm not a roof expert, so Ted is here to explain the schematic.
Hello, my name is Ted Tolis. I work with the SLAM Collaborative. We're an architectural firm, and we've been hired to help you do a re-roofing project for the Career and Technical Center. So the building is about 32,000 square feet, and in order to fit within your budget, we have broken the building up into two portions. The yellow portion is what we're looking to approve today. So that is about a third of the building. It's about 10,000 square feet of roofscape. And those are also two areas that can be isolated easily and have the roof replaced. The roofs are higher or lower. So the area in blue, once you start that, you have to re-roof pretty much the whole area. So in total, the area in yellow is about actually 9,330 square feet. The roof that would be put on, it would be a complete demolition of the existing roof, and there's a thinner layer of insulation, 2 or 3 inches of insulation on the existing building. So we pull off the existing built-up asphaltic roof that's, I believe, somewhere around 40 years old, and put down an EPDM roof, which would match what you have over at the high school. We would include removing all the copings that are around the perimeter of these areas, so all that new metal work will be put back on. It's aluminum. And we have a couple of add alternates on the project, so if you wanted to replace the leaders that run from the roof down to the perimeter of the building, we'll get a number on that as well. They've been dinged up and replaced in many different ways as you walk around. Let's see. So another thing that we're going to do, there's a number of pieces of mechanical equipment on the roof. We would pick those up, re-roof, provide new curbs around the mechanical equipment, and drop the existing mechanical equipment back down on the new curbs. So that's pretty much a description of the roofing project. Let me know if you have any questions.
I see Catherine and Donna.
Could you please tell us what the integrity of the entire roof is, as opposed to this particular portion, and what you expect the life expectancy of the remaining part of the roof to be?
Sure. I think the existing roof is pretty much nearing the end of its life expectancy. I believe it's been repaired a number of times already. And so that's why a new roof is being considered. Also, the new roof will go down with more insulation. It'll have about twice the insulation it does today, just to meet the energy code.
My question was actually delineating the life expectancy of the area that is yellow, which you are, proposing that we repair now, as opposed to what's blue that we're not doing now. So I'd like a comparison on the integrity of both and the life expectancy of them, comparatively speaking.
Sure.
Sure. So I can speak to some of this. When we looked at the CTC roof, actually prior to engaging with Slam and Colliers on this, or actually it's right around the time Colliers came on board, we did what's called an infrared scan. So I don't know if everybody's familiar with this, but what happens in an infrared scan is it looks for moisture, and you can see where moisture has penetrated the roof area. These two roofs in particular have a percentage of roof area that's been penetrated. So we know they've gone bad. We actually have active leaks that we see in the construction program from time to time. The other roofs aren't at that point yet. However, based on the fact that they're all around the same age, we know that if we're at basically 0 years left with the yellow, we're probably 1 to 2 years left with.
That's very helpful, thanks.
Donna and then.
Yeah, Ted, thank you for that. Two questions. When we do the yellow roof, can the school still function, number one? That's probably not a question for you because you design, but can they still be, the kids can still matriculate?
Sure. So, another reason to limit the whole roof is
Yeah.
that it could be done over the summer.
Over the summer?
That's the intention.
Okay, and I get that, and that's a really good reason to do it in 2 stages, but did we just budget for the yellow part of it, or have we just don't have enough money to do the whole thing in one time?
That's
Ned,
correct. You don't have.
right?
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
do not have enough money to do the whole thing.
that's right, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you.
to just clarify, I mentioned this to the school committee when they did the test as well. There was asbestos, which means it's going to increase the cost.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
In them sections of yellow, is there any integrity problem right now with roof bid collapse? Rot? Any of the wood or?
Any time you have water infiltration into the roof, you're at the point where your roof is failing. So as far as the integrity, I can't tell you what a snow load would do.
Okay.
I would.
Now, how long has that been like that?
Well, the infrared was done roughly a year ago. So another way to explain this is if the roof on your home is leaking and you know that the
Don't go through that
components,
right now.
okay, if you know that roof hasn't been touched in 20, 30
Right.
years, it's only going to get worse.
Now,
And
is integrity though to a point where kids probably should not be in there?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that if we don't address it within the next year or so, and this, let me back up a little bit. When we use the term deferred maintenance, this is a great example, right? So section of roof, let's say it's $1 million, it lasts 20 years, that's worth $50,000 a year in terms of each year it gets less and less, and then you get leaks by the 20th year. We're at the point now where we know it's not going to last. You can still do some repair. So you can throw some goop on it, if you will, and it'll stop leaking for a little while. But then that's going to give way. And eventually you get to the place that there's so many leaks, so many problems, it's no longer worth it to try to do maintenance on it. You just need to replace it. I don't know if does that help answer your question?
Just integrity of the roof, is it gonna collapse tomorrow maybe, or, you know?
No,
get
it's not going to
big down-
collapse tomorrow,
down-
but we don't want to risk the reason why we want this section done in summertime is we don't want to risk, we've been very lucky with snow, so we haven't
Yeah.
had concern, but we did have some major leaks. We've already put 30,000 in about a year ago. to be
Yeah,
able to maintain it.
we do routine maintenance to keep the roof integrity as good as we can, but it's come to the place where it's time.
I thought I heard you say, Ned, that a heavy snow would jeopardize that, but normally the kids are not in the building during the heavy snow. Right?
Yeah, and I won't speak to structural integrity. This is more the envelope integrity. So as far as it being warm, safe, and dry part of it, I think we'd have to consult an engineer if we got into that, but we haven't seen any evidence this is structural. I do know, I will say separately, structural issue was dealt with between the state and Charahoe 15 or so years ago. And there was a structural issue, and that was addressed.
Other questions from the school committee? Larry?
See also on here on this, what, there's the security film on the windows?
This is just for the CTC.
Okay, oh, I see it,
That's we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
oh, okay,
Yep, we're
sorry.
getting there.
That we can have, I would like to read the demolition general notes on that. I
Sure.
cannot read them.
Yeah, without a doubt, we'll give you a copy.
And the hardware that's up there, pictured on the, how old is that hardware, or do you assess that?
The mechanical equipment that's
Yeah.
on the roof.
What is that,
I-
exhaust?
Yeah, presently, I can't speak to the age of each of the pieces of equipment. There's a couple dozen pieces of equipment up on the roof at various ages and states. And in order to limit the impact on the project, we're looking to just focus on the roof at this time.
How long would that roof life, what kind of,
It shouldn't be affected by the age of the equipment. If you had to replace a piece of equipment, it wouldn't deteriorate the roof in any way or advance the roof aging quicker, that sort of thing. They should be independent of each other.
sure, what are you looking at to use for material on top? Like, what the lifespan of it? I don't need
Yeah.
the chemical.
Sure, 25 to 30 years for an EPDM roof. Sure.
Further questions from the committee? Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have somebody from the audience if you'd like to come up, ma'am. I'm sorry, I didn't see your name. Just,
Yes, I was wondering
Oh,
if
I'm
the
sorry,
same
Goldie.
company, Goldie, from Richmond. I was wondering if it's going to be the same company that did the Richmond roof. That's still not right. And it should be done for free again if it's not being done right at Richmond.
just focus on the CTC roof. Is it the same company now, do you know?
We don't know what company
We
would be
have
doing
heard
it.
It's gone out to bid.
Because I saw
Just
the
the
leaking
design. The
that
leak
you
isn't
had on
from
the
the
news.
roof. Thank you. Ma'am, did you? Yeah. That's the header, so.
Jennifer Sylvia from Hopkinton. I noticed that like most of the roofs over here are flat. Is this roof going to be pitched in any way? Help minimize.
The structure of the existing building is pitched. So the roofing membrane, the roofing insulation doesn't have to be pitched. And it naturally drains toward the perimeter of the building.
More questions? We all set? All right, thank you. So, recommend approval. We did have a motion, right, down in first and the second. We have to approve it or just? No, we need to approve it, I'm just checking on the first and the second. I'm afraid we skipped a sec.
So moved.
Who's in favor? Sorry. Those in favor? It is unanimous, thank you.
So the next item, you actually have already approved it, but Ryan asked us that we had to bring it back to ensure the approval to submit the capital fund in order to get our housing aid as the bond did pass. So this is a review to approve the campus capital plan per RIDE requirements. I am recommending approval.
So moved.
Second. Question before the presentation?
Oh, no.
Deb just has
Go ahead, Deb.
a brief
Thank you.
update.
Deborah Faith from Colliers Project Leaders, and I was just here to explain the administrative requirements we have with Rhode Island Department of Education, and that these reviews, while it seems pretty obvious that the state has already approved that you'll have capital projects, especially this roof, that it's just a requirement, and I go onto the website with the architect and the owner, and we just input all the information, your minutes, from the agenda and the meetings and the drawings from TID, and We just let the state know that this is a fortified project and fully supported. And that's why I'm here, and that's why Superintendent has also offered, seek for approval from you all, that you are still behind this CTC roof, sections A and G.
That they did.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, so that is just specifically for, the yellow portion of the CTC.
Correct.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Did we already discuss it?
We
So Catherine,
will
is
go
your
on from
question?
there.
Yep, we're on K, approval. I am recommending approval to submit the capital funded project list to our Right House to ensure we receive right housing aid reimbursement for RISE requests for our, that we proceed with our phase 2 submission requirements.
We did, so this
Yep,
is
I'm just going
discussion,
back to
so this is
reiterate.
not just the roof.
Oh,
We're on K.
I see your hand, I'm just gonna. Larry, did you have a question?
Yeah, on the security film for the windows, didn't we get a grant for that?
For some of them,
For some,
Not
yeah.
all.
Some,
It
not
didn't,
all,
yeah, it didn't
not
go
all the
very
buildings.
far.
correct.
I think I looked it up and CTC was on there. I
We,
went
we
back-
did do some window film work with the grant money, but that didn't go nearly as far as the rest of the campus.
Questions, Polly?
So you're discussing this spreadsheet from Slam and Colliers. We have 4 tennis courts and it says repaint tennis courts for $225,000.
That was already in the plan. Yeah, we have, because we have, they play on them. There's so many years of upkeep that we have to provide to ensure that they're safe and be done.
That's a lot of money for 4 tennis courts. That's
the going
that,
rate.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's $225 and I understand that they play on it a lot.
So
I'm
does the
gonna be that
community.
judgmental mom who drove by and they look in really good shape, so. And there's just some questions about these items, like the playscape for the pre-K program, $125,000.
Yep.
They have a beautiful playscape in there, and the what is it called, the chopped rubber? Is there a name for it? The whole floor of it, it's in beautiful condition. So I'm looking at some of these going,
So that pre-K was placed in the main campus. It's actually going to be moved to Richmond because we have to prepare for the pre-K program that's moving. So it gets placed in the main campus and then it's over to the school where it actually will be at because the bond did not pass.
okay,
And you're required to have a preschool playground. So that's where it had to go in for right now.
So I'll explain a couple of things that go with this plan. And this also gets to the deferred maintenance piece. Using the tennis courts as an example, you can see at Richmond, tennis courts in particular, while they'll appear that they're in okay shape, they require a high level of maintenance. And if you look at the tennis court at Richmond, initially when you look at it, you say, well, why, the surface is so-so, but it's just a few cracks. It's not like pavement. You need to remove the imperfections.
but this is specifically labeled Charahoe Regional High School.
No, understood. We're talking about the tennis courts here at the high school.
Okay,
So to put on the appropriate surface, if we can do it for less than that, that's great, and we'll move on to another project. But those are all estimates based on what we think those surfaces or those items would require.
And just to
I
be
will-
clear, you already approved the capital improvement plan in February. We have to reset, or the RIDE will not give us the reimbursement. So we can just not do it, but then we're going back to emergency funding and you're paying dollar for dollar.
Yeah, so to go a step further, there's also a strategic piece of this. So we, in cooperation with Colliers and SLAM, looked at all the different components that are here on the campus that also exist in the elementary schools. So playgrounds is an example. We have failing playgrounds. We know that if we don't identify those things as part of our campus plan and the bond fails, then we wouldn't have an avenue to go to the elementary schools should we have to change direction and say, hey, we want to apply something we're getting money for over here at a place that's come up as a higher need. So there's going to be, some items you're going to see there that we may have to shift to another location.
So Ryan's recommendation on the pre-K was that we place that into the main campus, knowing that the pre-K program can shift to the school that we decided we're going to place it, which will most likely be Richmond.
Another way to look at it might be, we're gonna need that money to take care of our things one way or another. We know on a square footage basis, that's about how much those items are gonna cost.
So, and just to sum up what we just saw, for the roof on the CTC, you have a replacement here of the rooftop exhaust equipment.
Mhm.
Would that be located on the two pieces that are being,
Is that bond or capital? So there's two pieces. There's a $9.5 million bond, and there's a $7.5 million capital.
this one says $2.02 million. 2,000,000.
So that's probably the bond side
I think that's actually
of
capital.
the CTC.
It's the 7592.
Okay, so that's the
That's
capital
capital.
side. Yep, so that's the capital side. We don't have enough money to do $2 million.
Yeah. So, but what, I guess my question was, are these exhaust equipments going to go on the new ones that you're projecting here, going to go on the old roof or the new part of the roof?
So,
It looked like the exhaust.
so we'll probably, unless something comes apart during the demolition, we'll
Yes.
probably have to just reinstall what's there based on the amount of money we have.
Okay. I would hate to be putting new exhaust on the old roof. Rather wait
Well,
to
it'll,
redo that roof.
I would let Ted speak to design, but it'll have curbs, so you'd be able to reinstall the existing,
Oh, sure.
replaced roof.
Questions?
You good? I'm good, thank you, sorry.
Catherine and then Donna.
All right, mine is more of a general question. I saw the list of proposed items, and we've heard a lot about the water issues at the Richmond Elementary School. I don't see anything
Can you
about
speak
that.
up, please?
My broad nature, when I read these items, some of them like new carpeting in the middle school, auditorium, they don't seem like emergency needs. And I know that when there was talk about the bond referendum, we were shown pictures such as flooding in the Richmond Elementary School. And so I'm just perplexed as to why we see things that are of a lesser nature than things of a higher.
Because we explained that the capital improvement plan cannot be basic maintenance and emergency needs. That is exactly what the state law says you cannot do. So just to be clear, when Ned and I explained the difference between a capital improvement plan is not major emergencies, because it has to be able to show that for 5 years, you're maintaining your infrastructure. Those emergency needs can be done under emergency expenditures or basic maintenance because we know they exist. So we still have to do them, you're right. But they're not part of a 5-year capital improvement plan because it would be against the law, because the state law specifically gives you the definition of basic maintenance, which is what we try to explain over and over again. So now we still, yes, have to fix Richmond's water problems, but as far as a capital improvement plan, you are required to now put a whole new stage 2 together, because you need an OPM and an architect to redesign and provide schematics, just like you saw for the CTC roof.
Okay.
The roofing issue at Richmond is not necessarily the roof. You have walls that leak. You have the front surface that leaks. You have the side ramp that leaks. So it's not the roof. So now we have to go back out to stage 2, go back to the drawing board, which we don't have enough money for, which we'll talk about in the next one, to determine the direction you need Ned and I to do, because you are absolutely right. We have to fix Richmond, but it's not in your capital improvement plan because against the law, because we have to make sure that we follow the guidelines.
Okay, so my question, or not really my question, my comment is, you know, there's a limit to funds, okay? It's not like we have limitless money. So to me, we have until November. By November, this has to be submitted. I read that in the building committee comments that.
Yeah, if I could get to that, that's the next, but
Okay.
that's not accurate. They
Okay.
think you're taking pieces of certain information.
All right, I'll let you clarify that later. So my general point is, personally, I don't know about other committee members, but personally, I would like to see a more complete overview of everything according to high level to low level need.
So just to be clear, we have been in this predicament for over 2 years.
What-
We have been under emergency expenditures for over 2 years because the committee has said they wanted to go back, and it was too fast. So if we do not approve again for the submission, you will not get your 61% reimbursement. You will pay dollar for everything we have to fix because you will not have an approved capital improvement plan. That is the problem we've had for the last 2 years. This would be the third year now because people want to pick and choose which projects they believe are prioritized. Ned and I, as part of our responsibility, along with our Director of Building and Grounds, have a responsibility to ensure the capital improvement plan meets the state requirement, which is not emergency you must fix, because we know that. So the state's going to say, well, that's your responsibility. You know you have an issue, you have to fix it. You have to, and anything over $500,000 needs an architect and an OPM per state law. This is what we try to explain. We know we don't have the funds, which is why we recommended the bond, which is why I said the most fiscally responsible thing and the most educationally sound thing was the bond. It didn't pass. That's the democratic process. That doesn't stop us from needing a capital improvement plan. You can choose to reject it. That's your right. We go back to emergency expenditures, and now we pay dollar for dollar in year 3. What will happen is the state will continue to see the school committee prolongs this, and then they will take state aid allocation and place it in capital improvements and basic maintenance to ensure that we're maintaining our properties. Because to Ned's point, we can all say this doesn't have to be done. Everybody can pick and choose projects, but there are a lot of buildings and grounds needs that have to be done. And it's easy to sit here and maybe pick a project, but in the end, we're living in these buildings and seeing these buildings. We hire project managers, architects, engineers to do that work. That's what they get paid to do. So in the end, you don't have to vote for this, but if you don't expect to pay more money than you would need to with the reimbursements.
If I can just, one more thing.
Had a few bites of the apples if you want to finish up your major point.
Yeah, to finish up my major point, I don't think anything that you said disqualifies the committee's right or my that is my particular concern that I'd like to see, whether or not the majority of the committee feels that way. What you said doesn't disqualify us from being able to have a list of needs according to priority. So that's it.
So I've seen a few hands. I saw Craig's hand. Donna, you've spoken too, so I'm gonna Craig and then. Okay, do you mind if I let Craig go first?
What's that?
Do you mind if I let Craig go first?
Well, how could I refuse that?
Just doing the best I can, Donna,
Okay,
looking at hands up, so.
That's fine, but
So Gina, could you just elaborate what you just said? State has the authority to take money and take from Peter to pay Paul. What are they
They
taking
haven't had
from?
to do that. 'Cause
No,
typically
but what are they
committees will-
taking from?
The state aid allocation, so the.
For the educational component, the state aid for the actual
Yes,
education.
they will move the money to ensure that we can do the capital infrastructure needs. If the district is showing that they're not taking action, which we would now be in year 3.
Thank you very much.
serious lessons learned, folks. But anyway, I want to comment on the cost of resurfacing and repainting tennis court about maybe 10 years ago. Charlestown resurfaced their tennis courts, and I was appalled at the cost of it. That's what it cost, Holly. It was close to this. That's all. I'm not discussing it with you.
I know,
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying, when I
reading.
read that, it
It
was
says
not
repaint.
surprising. Excuse me, I'm still talking. Okay? When I read that, I was not surprised because I was flabbergasted at what it costs to do that. Now, if you want something to say to me, you can get recognized.
It's okay. I think we can all just
Okay.
take a breath. Okay? Jessica.
So Catherine, I understand what you're saying. You want to see a plan for everything before we move. Totally get that. I wish we could. Right now, what we have is this plan that was already approved for the main campus. So taking what we have now, I think for me, the decision is, do we move forward with this now where we know that we'll get the most for our money and we already have the work done and we've already paid for this work? Or do we wait until we come up with a plan for the elementary schools and we have a bigger spending and then it takes more time and who knows when we'll get the funding to have that stage 2. So I obviously, I would like a big picture that we can move forward with, but we just had that and it didn't work out. So this is the part we have that is what people said they wanted, which was improvements and not tearing down the whole school and making new modern schools.
But the elementary plan has to go back to stage 2. We just can't list, you are not allowed by law to just list what you want to do. You have to have schematics and designs regarding the elementary structures for renovation. You cannot just say, here's what I'd like to fix.
We need this for the elementary school, but we don't have that. We just have.
We have to go back to the drawing board with it.
Right.
Superintendent, can you speak a little bit about the timing factor? Because I think people feel like they've got lots of time before November, and I don't know that that's the case.
And actually, that's part of the next agenda item, so
Then
I
I apologize.
Yeah.
So
So,
wait,
Okay.
wait, good.
Can I, so I want to make something clear to the committee, so there's an understanding of the financial piece of this. When we spent the money for SLAM and Colliers to go through this process, we recognized that the community hadn't determined whether they wanted to spend on a bond. So we knew what we were getting into. We're going to spend roughly $500,000 to go through the RIDE mandated process. Look at that as the ticket to get the reimbursement money. So we're fortunate. We get 65% back on our dollars.
sometimes 61, but
Yeah, 61 to 65, depending on what it is. So we recognize that, hey, if the bond fails, we need something on the books so that we can get reimbursement for the work we do. And having been through this, the committee will remember we went through that $500,000 expense for the boiler at the middle school. That ate up all of our housing aid in an emergency capacity. That was all we had left. And then we had to juggle a lot of our projects that we had in mind, included elementary schools, included other things. We really, said another way, we really need this $7.5 million to get something on the books so that we can get reimbursement for the projects. Case in point, we just looked at the CTC roof and we know that's actively leaking. So by moving forward with that, we established that. To the superintendent's point, we still have to go through that detailed process. This is a great example because we had a very small project to look at. We have to go through that process for each project where the architect comes to us and says, here's the design, do you agree? Yes, we agree. Then it goes to RIDE. RIDE says, okay, we'll write checks based on what you've agreed. We don't have much money left in the bank, if you will, for projects. We'll be able to do the CTC roof and a few other things. The $7.5 million doesn't mean we have the money in hand. We're going to talk about that in the next agenda item, but it means at least we have something on the books to get reimbursement. Makes me very uncomfortable if we don't have that, because then, as the superintendent said, it's dollar for dollar. So we don't get any money back and we'll run out of funds.
so I just, and I just want to reiterate, in order to get the capital improvement, and we hired Colliers and SLAM to put this together, they came with schematics and designs around the larger projects. So that already exists for the main campus because that's the part that didn't change, if you will. It's the elementary plan that was on the new construction because, truth be told, we did not have enough money to go 2 routes, renovation and new construction, because there was only so much money that we could afford. So we went new construction based on the aging facilities and the recommendation from RIDE. Now, the bond didn't pass. The next item is about that moving forward, both for the campus, because we do not have the money in hand to be able to handle our capital improvement projects based on the 5-year capital improvement plan. So the idea being that this is the same plan that already existed, that has the schematics that you paid for by the architect, by the OPM in front of you. So I just want to be clear, if you don't like these projects, it's fine, but you're going back to the OPM and hire a new architect to put up new projects, new schematics, and new designs. And you would need them.
Yeah, in essence, we're going back to the drawing board. If this board votes against this, about things we've already had these discussions about. These are not new projects. These are not new discussions. These are not new schematics. This is not new information. We talked about all of this before. If we throw this out,
then we start all over again. And we are using taxpayer money to start all over again, which I personally feel would be foolish because we've already had these discussions. We've known about these projects. I do not want to go out and spend $500,000 more, $1,000 more of taxpayer money to start all over again. Would highly suggest moving this forward.
Remember,
I know-
basic maintenance is not the same as a capital improvement.
So, Pat.
This CTC roof was already slated with the previous architects that we had. Am I not mistaken? The RGB was this?
No, we
that-
actually, it was mentioned as part of the stage one, the concern.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we didn't get further with them, other than the fact that we knew we needed to address the
Right,
roof.
so this has
We
been
had the infrared
in the queue.
Yeah.
for a while, yes.
I think all of these have been somewhat in the queue for a while. Something.
In the stage two, as one of the authors, is that all of the designs for each of these projects had to be included. So they are in there, as well as cost estimates that were provided by a professional company, Mayokota. So all of that has been in there, and you were able to read the many pages. Read it, Sir Tyler. So it is there, and there's nothing different. And that's sort of my point, is that we just want to take it to the next phase and for RIDE to recognize that, yes, it has been approved by you all in the stage two, but now we want to start moving, getting boots on the ground, and for them to know that the district is serious about making these improvements that are in this one, it's not here anymore, but in that one spreadsheet. So if you have any more questions, feel free.
Louise Dinsmore. So I think what's unclear for a layperson like myself is that with the way that this has been sort of packaged and presented, what was packaged and presented during the bond discussion was that there was option A or then option B if the bond fails, that it would be a $30 million bond for a number of things. So the plan B was prioritized elementary needs and main campus needs, bathroom renovation, plumbing, HVAC, paving, playground, Cala playground, career and tech roof, middle school skylight, high school breezeways. Now, what I'm hearing is there's two different things coming forward. A $9.5 million bond and a $7.5 million capital package.
Nope, that was given on a slide. If you go onto the website, that slide deck shows what Ned just talked about, and it breaks down the bond and the capital improvement plan. It was always packaged that way.
So, I mean, the $30 million bond that was going to be presented as option B was all of those things that
I'm not gonna use option B. That was something that somebody used. And I honestly, and I told this to, school committee woman Calasante, I believe that's a lot of confusion, and people used that to be able to misrepresent what actually we were saying about, it came up during the omnibus meeting. Option A was always the bond that would just went for the vote. B was basically what we were saying is you were looking at a redo of all your elementary school stage two, and then you're prioritizing your main campus because you have to go back to the drawing board for stage two. That's what we want to make sure you're doing basic maintenance because you have to have the new plan for stage two. We just can't list those documents.
Thank
So
you.
I do believe people are using that option B as that was a done deal. The $30 million bond would cover your main campus needs while we reset for stage two for elementary.
Okay, so I looked through
If you
all
will.
of the materials, thank you, Superintendent. I looked through all the materials for tonight's meeting, and maybe I missed it, but I'm pretty thorough when I go through the notes. So was there a delineation of what would be incorporated into the $9.5 million bond and the $7.5 million capital needs? It was included in that? Okay, I must have just missed it.
So there are two pieces here. There's the 7.5 million capital, which is what we're focused on. Then there's the 9.5 in the bond, which we don't have a bond, so that's not going to happen. We're focused right now on the 7.5. We're
Okay.
going to next talk about it, the next topic. How do we pay for what we need?
Thank you.
Other questions? Move. Okay, those in favor? Catherine, you're abstaining. Larry, did you vote? I'm sorry. Yes. In favor. Thank you.
So the next item is item L, direction on funding for the campus capital needs. Just to reiterate, we've said the elementary plan has to go back to the drawing board. That's not something that we can, mince words about. That has to happen. When that happens will be determined based on next steps. However, we already have the main campus needs. We received no pushback regarding the main campus during this bond conversation. The large pushback happened to be around the new construction of the elementary schools. So what Ned and I need to know is if the committee is interested in November, I just want to be clear that if you want a bond in November, that has to happen now in legislation. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible, but that would be, it's a hefty task. So I'm always up for the challenge, and I'm happy to do that if that's what the committee wants. But to be clear, the bond would be, we'd only have the opportunity to do it for the main campus because that's the schematic and the work that we've done and you've paid for. So you would be able to take that main campus work and move it into a bond for the November ballot. If that's what you want us to do, then I will start tomorrow morning working with the Senate and the representatives to see if that's possible to complete through the House session before they close in June. If not, you cannot get anything on the November ballot if it doesn't go to session now. Because we also heard, why wasn't this on the November ballot? It's a special election. It wasn't on the November ballot because, as you know, there was temporary bonuses attached and it had to happen before the June date. If you want things on November ballots, it has to happen in session now. If you don't care when a bond gets placed in front of the electors, then it doesn't matter. But nothing will happen until the spring because you'll have to wait for session to begin again in January. So that means we go forward for the fall, knowing that we won't have any bond on an election ballot. We don't have the capital, the money for the capital of the projects. And if you recall, the school committee did give a reprieve to the towns for 2 years and asked for no capital improvement money and reduced that money from the budgets because, as a good faith effort, because you were in planning for the stage 2 application. So what Ned and I need to know is, what do you want to do next?
Is that clear to everybody? There's a reason it's on this agenda. It's because we are under a time crunch. We do not have the luxury of time because we are at the mercy of summer vacation for our legislators.
There's no way to get an elementary plan in. I can just tell you that, just want to be clear, because you have to redo the stage 2. So you'd have to go back out to bid for the architects. So we know the elementary has to be off the table because there's not time to put that through for the June date. You already have the main campus completed. The schematics are done. You hired the architect, you hired the OPM, and you've completed the project. We received I've received no feedback regarding concerns around the main campus upgrades, which is the health, safety, security needs for the 5-year capital improvement plan. So you would put in front of the voters, and basically you'd be separating out your elementary from your main campus, which has happened in the past. And you put that bond. So when Ned and I reviewed it, ultimately, if you put the 9 and the 7, you're looking at, what would you say, Ned, 15 million?
But it comes out to about 17. Just one point of clarification. I'm looking through here. The building committee received both the bond and the capital. The school committee just has the capital from this pack.
But it would be it would be under the building committee, John.
Yeah, it's under the building committee agenda.
So
but
that's where it was.
Can you just send it to us?
Yeah.
It's on.
So we don't have.
Just so we have it.
You don't have the 9.5. You
You have it.
technically you
You
do
already
have it. It was
received
part of the stage 2. Like everybody received
Yeah.
the 9.5.
But it's not in this packet.
It's not here. It's in the building.
But it has been seen before. and
Correct.
It remains unchanged.
So Ned, and again, just to reiterate, we need direction on, do you want us to pursue a $15 million or 17, $15 million bond for November ballot for the main campus? And we'd have to come back to a meeting because we'd have to ask town council and bond, and we'd have to go to legislation. It's not going to be an easy task, but again, happy to do it if that's what the committee wants to do it. If not, then we cannot get anything on the November ballot. And you have to go to bond. We explained this to you. Regardless of what we do, we have to go to bond. So when we do it is going to be determined by you. Like I said, the main campus needs,
You've already paid for that planning, which is why we're asking if that's the direction you want to take. I can't guarantee that it'll get passed in the House and Senate, but we will do our due diligence to work hard to do it if that's.
Second.
So, are there questions from the committee? And let's just reiterate. There was certainly coming from the town of Hopkinton, there seemed to be a lot of polarization around the elementary schools. So that's what we've taken out of this process. We need to go back to the drawing board for the elementary schools. This, and I agree with the superintendent, I didn't hear any pushback about the main campus. There seemed to be a lot of interest in going forward for a bond with 61 to 65% reimbursement. We heard that drumbeat fairly often. So I would hope that this committee could find some cohesion in moving that forward, because that seemed to be what we kept hearing over and over again people wanted. It's a lot of work for us to do this if there's members of the committee that are going to oppose it, because then, you know, it's just, it's not in our best interest to put something forward if the committee overall and consensus does not believe it's the best next step. Which is a polite way of saying, if you can't get behind this tonight, you probably shouldn't get behind. Either be behind it or don't be behind it, but don't be behind it tonight and then go out in the public and not be behind it. Catherine?
Ned, what you said earlier was very helpful. And I'm gonna just follow up a little bit with what you said. So there's a difference between capital expenditures and say the like emergency needs, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could distinguish it in three categories. There's the bond funded, the capital funded, and then emergency.
Okay. But in order to get the reimbursement for these main campus needs, and we've already done the preliminary work for it and paid for it, in order to get the reimbursement, we would have to submit this pretty much now.
So
Is that
we've
the
done that.
61 to 65%.
So we've done our due diligence for the phase two. We don't have bond funding for 9.5 million of that. 7.5 million, we've told RIDE, is we can come up with the capital to get that done. Now that'll take over the course of 5 years. Remains to be seen how much.
With an
we'll
ask
be
of
able to raise.
$2.3 million in the budget.
So it remains to be seen how much we'll actually be able to get each year towards that capital fund piece. But in the meantime, we still have to address our elementary schools. And that's to the superintendent's point. We have to go through that process as well. All right.
Yeah, the time frame would be too fast.
I mean, yeah, so just for the public, I think it would be to let them know the steps. Like, I know a proposal's gonna have to go out to the architects and come back, and then it's gonna have to go back out to a vote on a bond.
For elementary or for the main?
For the elementary.
Correct.
So
So
we have to go through the same process we just went through all over again. So just to give them an idea of a timeline we're looking at.
Sure, so we'd go back to the Necessity for School Construction Committee. The school committee would reappoint members, now that we know it would be 3 for the Charahoe Act for the building committee. So we would go back to stage 2, which in essence means that that committee would review, based on the fact that we've already done new construction, you have those plans. It would be for a renovation plan for the schools that would prioritize the needs that we discussed, like the Ashaway trailer, the Richmond preschool program upgrades, things like that we had talked about. And then, so the timeline, you have to hire a new architect, hire the OPM, because you can't assume that's a different project. So you've got to put that scope out again for the RFP. The Necessity for School Construction team would then recommend approval for an architect and an OPM for that project. At the school committee level, you would approve that. Once that gets approved, the Necessity for School Construction Committee will determine renovations that are need to be prioritized at the elementary level for the bond, because you would need a bond to be able to do that. And then those projects would come back to the school committee, and then just like similar to how we did this year, I don't think we would be able to get it ready for the annual finance meeting based on the fact that a renovation looks very different. New construction is much easier because of the formula. It's number of kids, times this, times this. It's kind of a clean slate. Where renovation, they've got to look at the existing building, they've got to look to match. There's a lot of more technical that has to happen, so it takes a little bit longer. So best case scenario on the ballot, November 2026. And that, because you've got to get the, just all the ducks in a row. It takes, time. And to be fair, it already started in 2020, this process, which is why, while I think it seemed fast for some people, it was already started. That stage one, we just had to reset. So while we have the stage one, the stage two renovation plan looks different. And RIDE, like I said, there's no formula base like a new construction plan. So it takes a little bit longer to manage because you've got to put different things in and out. And obviously, costs vary because students on site. But you're looking overall, like I said, the soonest I would anticipate, I would say November 2026, so we're not get anybody hopes up. If we can do it sooner, great. But I would say, that's probably our best case scenario.
And just to add to that too, Louise, you had talked about some article you had read where the superintendent had not been quoted because she didn't speak to a reporter. But someone mentioned one elementary school at that point. So that, again, everything is on the table all over again. So that's when that could be discussed.
Yeah, my think, so basically what happens, Louise, so for example, back in 2020, there was the one school, Ryan Callahan at that point felt as though, and it was not the intent, but if you start with looking at one school and share with the community what those efficiencies would look like, you would be able to then determine, is that really what the community wants, or do you want to do something like a 3-school option like we just did? That never came to fruition because there was a lot of pushback from the community. And that, we heard pushback even going from 4 to 3. People necessarily didn't like that. So the idea being with, you may get to the point, November 2026, that people say, well, it's going to behoove us to do new construction based on the cost of renovations. So you would still have an option. You'd have to update some of because you have the schematics already available. So you already have that and packaged. But now you're going to do is look at renovation plans and determine, do you want to go out? Your highest level need obviously is Richmond. I think we all know that. But ultimately, we're looking at, like I said, best case scenario, November 2026. If we can deliver faster, we always do our best to try that, but I don't want to put it out there sooner than I think, working through those, because it takes a while. And like I said, this was in the queue since 2020.
There's always lots of moving parts. Are there questions on going out to bond? Jess?
Yeah, so right now, you have the main campus project separated into 2 different categories. Capital, we could fund this through the school budget every year, and the bond, right? So total, that's like $17 million. I'm wondering if it would be possible to go to bond for the entirety of the main campus project, so $17 million, and use that capital that's estimated for the main campus to do stuff at the elementary schools. So to come up with not a bond plan, but like a capital improvement plan.
Well, that's so the capital improvement plan has the same rules.
You have to meet the stage 2 stuff. And that would take just
So the new construction goes a little bit faster because it really is, well, not faster for the architects because they do the majority of the work, but it's formula based. So RIDE says, this is the number of kids you have, this is what per square footage you get, this is the cost of that kind of a building. Where renovations, you're looking at your infrastructure, you're making sure things, have integrity. There's a lot more that you have to do in order to determine the cost of that project, because you're not starting from scratch. And the age of the facility, and we don't know what you're going to uncover. Like the roof, like for example, the CTC roof. When the material was tested, it tested with asbestos, so we know that there was going to be mitigation things that we have to take into consideration when we do that project, how that project looks, and it increased the costs.
Are there other questions from the committee?
I think Jessica addressed my question, but if we say yes, go out to bond with this current legislature, you're going out to bond for not just the main campus, but what improvements we need for the elementary. You're gonna
No,
add-
we need schematics.
Just the main campus. Okay.
Just
So the elementary school capital.
We gotta go back to the drawing board.
We gotta go back to the drawing board.
No,
matter
we're still
what.
required to do basic maintenance, emergency needs, all of that still gets done.
No matter what. And you are willing, and I commend you for being willing to go back.
I
Put a
can't make
bond-
promises, but we will work very hard to try to get it passed.
And I am
Discussion,
amazed
if
and
that's what you
commend
want.
you for wanting to do that kind of work and effort after just putting it out and unsuccessfully, and didn't pass. However, I want to reiterate what Catherine said, and the school committee members that are sitting here in this forum have to make sure that truth be told to the public when, if we do go out to bond, and the voters vote on the bond, because it will eventually save the money in the end, as opposed to, I mean, these buildings have to be maintained no matter what.
And projects like this, the collaboration of the committee and the consensus of the committee is really important. Because there's a lot of time and effort and money spent, taxpayers' dollars are spent on these projects. So we want to make sure that we have an overall consensus because it is, it's a
And
lot of money.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to poll the individuals, whoever they are, that went out and voted against or encouraged their constituents to vote against this bond. But I would like to know that they would, if they're sitting here at this table, these tables, that they will support the next bond that goes out before you start doing this work, because it's too much at risk.
I think all we can do, Donna, is take a vote, and then people will advocate for it to,
Okay. And abstain
control.
or vote no if you don't want.
Can't control.
Catherine?
I respect and understand what you just said, Donna, and I think you reiterated what you said, Catherine, okay? That if you're gonna put a lot of energy and work into this, you want the committee members to be upfront how they feel about it. I just feel personally, I'm trying to absorb all of it. I find it like still having questions that I think I'm already using up all my bites at the apple. So, and I think that people changed their mind on the last vote, and then this is brief, so don't get alarmed. Because as they thought more about it, they thought about the angles they hadn't thought of previously. So while I 100% respect Donna and Catherine, what you've said, and I agree with you in principle, absolutely, I just feel like to take the vote right now tonight, I just again feel like there's too much to digest. That's just a very honest appraisal of where I'm at.
And I just want to clarify, Catherine, and I appreciate you saying that. I want to be clear, the reason why we're asking is we didn't want you to assume or ask us, why didn't you tell us that you had to do this now for November ballot? And it was too late because our next meeting is June. So unfortunately, look, there's a time crunch. So there's only so much time. And I didn't want you to walk away and say, well, had we known this was the last chance to go to a November ballot, maybe we would have done this differently. So we wanted to be clear that if there's a November ballot in anyone's sense to do this, that this is the time that we would have to know.
Questions from the committee before I go?
I just, I think there might be some confusion that if we approve a small bond, this in comparison is a small bond to fix up the main campus. People out there are pretty good with fixing up, from what I've read. Let's put a little money into the schools, let's fix it up. But right now, they've been told repeatedly, our elementary schools are falling down. So they need to know that this has nothing to do with the elementary schools. And imagine being the person thinking, okay, we've been told for quite a while our elementary schools are in bad condition, but now they're coming back to us to get a bond that has nothing to do with those schools. So there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of kind of angry people. Like, I agree that we should put a little money into the elementary schools, and now we're coming back. I'm just clarifying, so when it gets out to the public and they say, so there's no confusion going forward. This has nothing to do with the elementary schools. You need to restart that whole project from the bottom up again.
You know, I appreciate the clarification. I do think that that is very important. The message that we heard from the people was we did not like what the school committee recommended for the bond, which was to build new elementary schools. Some people.
Not all people.
Understood. I understand all of the complexities. So again, I appreciate the clarification that we're going back to the drawing board for the elementary schools because you guys said you didn't like what we were doing with the elementary schools. So hopefully everybody works and moves forward. I'll get to the audience as soon as we're done with the school committee, understands that. So I've got Craig next.
Mrs. Picard has been at least sincere in what she says since at least January. It was then that it was announced that of the 150 million, approximately 20 million was dedicated to this campus right here. That hasn't changed. That wasn't changed here. And in her presentation earlier, it was towards this campus here. It wasn't about the elementary school. We're muddying the water right now.
Jessica?
So I just want to, while I was preparing for tonight's meeting, I came across something from January 9th, at the start of this year, which was a memo from Ned asking us to resubmit the stage 1 application in case the bond was not successful so that these main campus projects could go forward. So we have been preparing for this. This was something that we had thought of. It's just unfortunate that we obviously couldn't prepare to pass forward for the elementary schools. That would have been the best case scenario, but that would have cost us $1 million and we didn't do that. So just to say, it is something that we've been preparing for. One thing I had a question about was like, so if we do this bond for the main campus, and then in a couple years, we have a bond for the elementary schools, is there ever a chance to like consolidate those bonds? Would it be like a loan, like a student loan?
Yeah, you've done that with the Cal and the Campus 2010.
Yeah, the way the bonds work is when you go into that agreement, you have to commit to that obligation. You can refund, but you can't necessarily combine the two debts. And it would depend on what's going on in the market at the time. So right now, we're in a higher interest rate environment, so chances are refunding wouldn't be an option for quite a few years. And it depends on what kind of appetite the community has for those elementary projects. The campus is pretty straightforward. That's the 15 million category. And CALA comes off the books, I believe, 3 years or 2 years, fiscal years after 25. And that was a $5 million bond.
So I agree with Ms. Hopkins. People are going to be angry, and they should be. We worked on a very difficult plan that for buildings that need it, but I want to be clear. The messaging from everyone on this committee is as important as my messaging. So when we have elected officials, we all have a responsibility to the public to give honest information. And when we say we're angry, I wish I could blink my eyes and have a brand new stage 2 application for elementary schools. That's not what it is. We were, critiqued for spending $400,000 on a stage 2 application where most districts had to spend $1 million. We were lucky enough to find someone who could put that together for us. The renovation plan would have definitely cost us over $1 million. We know that. You did not have those funds. So there's a give and there's a take, and we understand the balance. So when we say people are going to be angry, we told them the elementary schools are in need of repair. They are. But those repairs will take time in renovation. There's not something that's easily done because you have to hire experts to do that work. So when people, wherever, are angry, I would hope that school committee members, because I know I will, say, yes, we worked at the district level anyway to support the bond and to get new construction in order to, in essence, save the taxpayer dollars. People did not believe that. So now we have to go back to the drawing board. And I'm telling you now, you can guarantee that in the budget, the request is going to be $2.3 million. because you need a new stage 2 application and it doesn't come from $0. So I don't want to have to spend that just as much as probably any of you want to have to spend that. But there is requirements that we have to have. So the more that we can all work together and work collaboratively, the easier it will be for the district to make those decisions. I'm not saying that we have to agree on everything, but to, Ms. Purcell's point, this information has been in front of the committee for a long time. So I often hear it's fast. Ned and I are available every day to be able to answer questions to clarify. But I'm going to ask that the committee, when they provide messaging, if you don't know, ask them to call us if you're not sure. And if you want to make sure the information is correct, I'd rather work together because the community is not going to be interested in us all being divisive or working on separate agendas. The more that we can collaborate together in the best interest of our students, the better the district will become. And I do believe that the majority of us here are well-intended and what we want what's best for kids. That's the goal. So while I agree, I'm not thrilled about having to go through a new stage 2 process. It's what's required by law. So, and unfortunately it takes time and it doesn't move quickly.
I think we've had a robust conversation from the committee. Ms. Dinsmore, and Ms. Sylvia.
Louise Dinsmore. So just to clarify, Gina, you had said earlier that this has to go back to the necessity for school construction subcommittee.
The elementary piece.
Okay, I'm sorry. So scratch that. So what you all are deciding right now is what the components would be for a new $15 million bond?
Nope. So I asked the committee if they wanted to be on a November ballot. The only opportunity to do that is to get it in legislation before they close in June. So if there's no interest in a November election, then that's a moot point. But Ned and I would need to know that because obviously time is of the essence, and I didn't want to walk away and have people say, well, I didn't realize if we didn't do this now, it can't be on a November ballot for the main campus.
So what would be the components of what would be prioritized at that point?
So it's the main it's the main campus upgrade.
It's not only one page.
If it's online in the building committee section. Yep, it's on the same calendar. You just click the date for Thursday and it'll pop up.
Do you have a question?
The school committee has had it in their stage 2 application.
Just a recommendation for like when you're trying to put things out to the public in the future that you want voters to be voting on. I know a few years ago, we were proposed to build a district-wide elementary school, correct?
So that was, I understand your confusion though, because we have said that 100 times, so I understand your confusion. When we had the first stage 1, stage 2 several years ago, that was one of the things that was discussed.
But it never went, the last bond for the district was Cal.
Yes. So that didn't go to bond.
But that, okay, so it never went to bond, but it went out and it got shut down.
No, it never went to a vote.
But
So there were rumors of it and it got out to the community and some people were thinking that it was shot down or however you want to word it.
Yes.
There's confusion in the community about it. And then in this stage 2 process, the school committee decided to go with 3 elementary schools, brand new. And that's what we're going to bond for. I just think that maybe in the future, it would behoove the school committee to maybe take a poll, do something in the community just to say like, what could you get behind more? Because the elementary schools need these improvements or repairs, and we have this option versus this option. I just think that if you want the entire community to get behind something, it just seems like it would be better to have we have options, and then it would help maybe get more support for a stage 2 application or whatever. And I also understand that, these meetings are publicized. I try to come to as many as I can, and I think more people in the community should come so that everybody's getting more informed. But that's just what I just feel like there should be more options presented, and when you're presenting the options, try to have more information as to like renovation might cost this versus we're going to do 3 brand new schools for $130 million.
That is great feedback, and I appreciate it. I think we tried, and we thought we had surveys that went out. We had walks to people to come. You please be assured that that is excellent advice, and we will take that again for a stage 2 application when we redo everything, and we'll try to figure out a better way to do it. So I've been part of all of these processes, the first factory in the field process, and now this process now. And I think we thought we were doing our due diligence by sending out surveys, having paper surveys available at the town halls, trying to get people to come for this facility walks. So what I'll ask of you is if you can think of a better way to get that info out, I would love to hear it, because I agree with you 100%. I don't want people to feel disenfranchised, like they're not part of the process. It's our community schools.
I feel like the school does a great job at informing parents, but I don't really feel like the school is doing a good enough job informing other people in the community that don't have kids in the school. I don't think that those other people, the elderly, people that just don't have kids, maybe younger adults that are just starting out, that don't have kids, that really just, it's, they don't really care, or it's not on their attention because they don't have the kids. So I think the school really needs to figure out a way on how to inform everyone better.
And I appreciate that. What I'm going to suggest is the town councils get a little bit more involved, because we have a limitation with what we can use our budget for. So I don't think the community necessarily wants to spend $25,000 on direct mail pieces to go to every single registered voter. That's not something I necessarily support. I was really disappointed to not see the town councils, other than the town council presidents, coming out against it, which is fine, and they're right to do so. But I was really disappointed that the town councils didn't say a peep. They said 0.0 about this. And I think they have a responsibility to, they talk about how all of their funding goes to Charahoe. They have a responsibility to help get the word out too. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. We need to go back to the drawing board, see how we can get information out to folks. But I think it needs to be, if these are our community schools, I think our town councils really need to jump aboard with us and get some information out too. Because I agree with you. We need, we had 6,000 registered voters in Hopkinton. We had a phenomenal turnout, but it wasn't 6,000 people. So I appreciate your comments, and I think they're all well taken.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't vote for the bond, and I thought that I had already voted for not building a district-wide elementary school, because I thought that had gotten presented. I think if I was presented with the option of building one district-wide elementary school versus 3 new elementary schools that needed to all be built within 5 years to meet that timeline, to get the renovation costs back to us from the state, I would have chosen the district-wide versus the 3 elementary schools, because that project it would have seemed like it would have been being able to be built within the 5-year plan versus trying to navigate all the moving parts of building 3 brand new. So I do wish that there would have been a better way to poll in that regard, because I think that had the voters been presented like the 2 options, which they could get behind better, you would have had more support, I believe.
Unfortunately, it's not, you can't give options, and the bond is, so that's why I think this.
Well, I understand that you can't give options, but when you're thinking about
Here you can.
Right, but when you're thinking about putting together the plan, you had to think about what the plan was going to be before you presented the plan.
Yeah.
So like in the
Absolutely.
planning process and what you're choosing to present to the voters, I think that, you know, it would be in the best interest of the school committee to come up with certain options so that people can see why you think that this is the best plan versus this.
That's great feedback, and I appreciate it. And we're going to talk more about that once we get back to the stage 2 application, but I appreciate the feedback.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. So we've talked a lot about this. We've spent a fair amount of time on it. I don't know that anybody's mind is going to be changed. Catherine, if you have one more succinct question to ask that might change your mind, I'm happy to hear it.
Very briefly, this is just a comment on the options. I did bring that up at the April 2023 school committee meeting that I thought we should have options. But Superintendent Picard, you said that was a cost issue. So just to bring that out in relation to what she said, you said that would be too costly to explore 2 options. So
We didn't actually, not that it was costly, we didn't have the funding to do both.
All right, Tyler, you want to point?
So I want to piggyback off something Jennifer said. Sorry. I know there's members of this committee that aren't going to listen to a word that I'm going to say right now, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think when we go back through this process for stage 2, we need to do something that I don't think we did a great job of last time. And I honestly think we need to loop our town councils in early and find out how this is going to affect them overall. We did that kind of late in the game this time, going out to the town councils after we already had a direction and a plan, and didn't give them a whole lot of chance to say very much. So maybe considering that earlier on in the game might be not a terrible thing to do. That's all I have to say.
Great, thank you. Polly, one final comment?
Me, but for everybody listening, you would like to do more work on this? No.
I'm asking you all
Yes.
what your direction is.
But what I want to see is, I don't know how to word this right. I want to see the figures for if we're going to consider this small bite of the apple to take care of the main campus needs, then you're going to go and do all the work, come back to us with all of the figures, what the bonds are going to look like.
You have the
payments.
figures.
Okay, all right.
The stage 2 hasn't changed. The figures are the same.
For the main campus.
Yeah.
For a $15 to $17 million.
I would say 15 million.
Okay.
But you already have that. So that was in the stage 2 reviewed all the schematics. We already paid the architect and the OPM to provide you with the elementary plan and the main campus plan that went out to bond just recently. What we're saying is, we have the schematics for the main campus. We received no pushback. What we heard was fix your old buildings. So the renovations for the main campus, we're saying if that's the direction and people want it on the November ballot, I need to know if that's something the committee wants to do, then Ned and I have to be able to start that process because session closes in June. If that's not what the committee's interested in, then that's a moot point.
I just think it'd be irresponsible without outlining those figures singularly.
You have
outside.
them.
Okay.
Asking. We have not run the financial projections on the 15 million. We have the projects that make it up, but we have
Yeah,
not
that's
run-
not what I heard her say, but if that's, the bond projections have to happen because we already had the $30 million bonds. Basically, you would go to the Matt Blaze again. And actually,
we'd have to
I'll
give
be
you a
honest with you,
projection.
I would want Nat to come to the next meeting because there's been a lot of conversation. I think people think that Ned and I make up the numbers so that Matt can review what that cost looks like and when you pull out the bond. So that comes with direction. So yes, just like we did last time, if you want the direction to be attempt, I can't guarantee attempt on November election bond question, see if we can get it through the legislation, then we have to do the same process. You've got to get Matt Blaze because that's all required as part of this process. We'd have to have a special meeting,
Yeah, we'd have
similarly
to-
we
we'd
did
have-
the bond legislation to review.
I would I would be fine with a special meeting as long as we have all the financials, we have all of our information.
This is for
before we make
direction.
any
Do you
vote.
want to proceed? Because if that's, then I have to ask
Just being
Karen
clear.
Grandy to put together the bond to get to the legislation language to you to get it to the legislation. They're not, I mean, if this happened, if it's in their hands in June, they're going to say no. I mean, we're talking quick timeline.
So this is just to say yes.
This is just a,
This is not the bond language.
call Karen Grandy tomorrow, get this moving, get together a special meeting so we can see the bond language with the figures from Matt Place.
Okay, final question.
Yes, final question. In light of what we're asking each committee member to do when they vote on this, I would like to request a roll call.
I mean, you could still vote no when you see the bond language, but in the end, I just need to know if that's an interest.
And not to go forward with disinformation.
Well, so this is just to move forward.
This is
That's all
just,
this
do you
is.
want us
I
to
did,
call the
I
bond
did.
council
But
and get an
I'm-
attempt to see what this would
Yeah,
look like for November
requesting a
ballot?
roll call
We can
vote.
do a roll call vote. That is totally fine. You want to start? I think we're ready to move the
I
question.
am. Donna Chambers, I am definitely in favor. If you're willing to do the work, I am going to support it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Roll call.
Larry.
Yes.
Karen.
Abstain.
And Juicy, yes. Holly.
Yes.
Purcell, yes?
Lyle, yes.
Tyler.
Chairman, yes.
Thank you.
The next item is revision to Article 13 and 14 of the Certified Staff Collective Bargaining Agreement. I am recommending approval of this revision per the agreement made during certified staff negotiations that Articles 13 and 14 shall be rewritten by a joint committee of 8. The committee shall establish guidelines for voluntary and involuntary assignments. You reviewed that in executive session, and I'm looking for your official vote at this time.
Second.
Questions? We had this discussion in executive, so all those in favor? Holly? Or you want to
I'll abstain because I was busy working.
That's fine.
Oh.
Holly abstained.
Abstain.
And Craig has abstained. Consent agenda items. Does anybody have anything that needs to be pulled? Tyler?
A1 and 2.
Anyone else?
Hold on.
Yep, I'm gonna wait for you.
Yeah, I know. You said A1 and 2?
Somebody recommend.
I'm going to look and see. Something.
Did you have a question? Contracts for the oil, what,
Number 3.
number
Can
3?
we
So
pull
let's
that?
pull number 3. Yep. So we're pulling A1, 2, and item 3.
E3.
Okay, Madam Chair, seeing there's no others, I make a motion to approve the remainder. But before I do, we have some donations. I'd like to acknowledge them. One, donation from parties of a table and chairs in Richmond School PTO President Thea Brennan for remodeling the Richmond School Teachers Room. Two, donation from Gotham Greens, Providence, Rhode Island, 456 seedlings of lettuce and basil valued at $3 each for a total donation of $1,368 to the Richmond School Greenhouse Project. And three, donation from S&S Landscaping, Ashaway, Rhode Island, and Fair Play Turf, Exeter, Rhode Island, of labor and materials, weed control, and fertilizer, valued at $1,875 for the high school football and baseball fields.
Number 4.
Also, anonymous donation of $200 to Chelsea Elementary School student lunch accounts for families in need.
Those in favor? It's unanimous.
Oh, sorry, I'll say it
Linda
louder,
got it.
Donna, sorry.
That's unanimous.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve A1, executive session minutes of April 9th, 2024, approve of executive session minutes, March 26th, 2024, minutes not seen.
Second.
Those in favor? Keep your hands up for a second. Abstentions. And Polly was abstaining?
No, I was holding my hand up because you were saying
Sorry.
keep them up.
Polly approved.
Sorry.
Nope, that's all right. didn't
I
know if
voted
over
all
you.
three.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve A2, executive session minutes of April 9th, 2024, memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and Charahoe Educational Support Professionals pertaining to Article 19.1 of the collective bargaining agreement, minutes unsealed, April 9th, 2024.
Second. Those in favor? And abstentions.
Said E3, correct?
Yes.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve E3. Recommend award of the following: fuel oil bid to Ginger Service Station, Wesley, Rhode Island, from July 1st, 2024 to June 20th, 2029. Per the memo from Ned Draper dated May 6th, 2024, the fixed amount to be 0.6 cents a gallon.
Come on up with your question, Louise.
So Ned, maybe this is a question for you about the fuel oil contract. So it says a 5-year term, but then it says on page 48 of that consent agenda package, fiscal year 28 and 29 is optional. So did the bid say 5-year RFP or was it 3 to 5 year?
3-1-1.
Okay.
So 3 years with 2 optional years.
Okay, so is that a best practice usually? Is this what the school department usually does, is 3-1-1?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, did I skip A3? Okay, I didn't know if that was pulled with A1, 2, and 3.
Those in favor of this? Those in favor of the bill? And are you in favor, or what do you do? Favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have report, subcommittee reports. The building committee will meet May 16th, 2024. Attached are the approved minutes from their March 25th and April 11th, 2024 meetings. Health and wellness met today at 4 p.m. in the high school library. Graduation is upcoming on Friday, June 7th at the URI Ryan Center at 7 p.m. There are no tickets needed. All are welcome to attend. We are proud to announce that Charahoe is the first district in the state of Rhode Island to receive the 2024, the Rhode Island Green Ribbon School District Sustainability Awardee. There's been no district in Rhode Island that has been able to accomplish that. Typically, it's just schools, and typically they have to be new schools. So again, to the concern of have we not been maintaining our facilities, we would not be able to receive award of this prestige without maintaining our facilities. So we actively work to create an efficient and safe physical environment by implementing policies and procedures that limit the use of fossil fuels, electricity consumption, and improve our air quality systems. The district has replaced hot water heating generation equipment at the middle school and high school, activated solar power generation for approximately 66% of electricity needs. We have moved to a near complete LED-based lighting system to the district. At Charleston Elementary School and throughout the district, our outdoor learning spaces continue to be created to enhance students' access to the natural environment around them through outdoor learning games and nature trails and more. So we are absolutely thrilled to be announced that our district has been honored with the Green Ribbon Award for sustainability. This remarkable achievement speaks volumes about our unwavering dedication to fostering an environment that supports student and staff health and wellness. We have also made a difference through our emphasis on initiatives that show a commitment to environmental sustainability. Our district's green teams, comprised of dedicated individuals from our schools and community, have worked tirelessly to promote environmentally reasonable choices and opportunities. We extend our deepest gratitude to our teachers, our staff, our students and parents, and community volunteers whose hard work and dedication have made this recognition possible. Being recognized for our efforts is a tremendous honor that only strengthens our resolve to continue striving for a greener future. Together, we are laying the foundation for future generations, and we are excited to embark on this journey towards a more sustainable tomorrow. And we will be happy to receive this award in DC in the summertime. 3 of us will be going to accept the award. And what was really important, I think Donna copied, we received a letter from the U.S. Department Secretary of Education, and we also received a citation from Sheldon Whitehouse for our efforts in this work. And we're really, again, excited to be the only district in Rhode Island to ever receive the Sustainability Award. Next,
Wow. Does that trump Blue Ribbon?
so it's very similar to the Blue Ribbon. It's like the, nobody can take it away, but you can only get it once. So you cannot reapply for a green ribbon. You can only get, it's one shot. And because all of our schools got it for the district, we are officially, on their rolls. As a green, and we can now officially use their logo, which you have seen in my email and my signature. So the next item is our kindergarten registration update. So we have a total of 43 registered kindergartners at Ashaway, 48 at Charlestown, 54 at Richmond, for a total of 145 students enrolled. We have upcoming events, if you'd like to review that list. And we have a parent workshop tomorrow that I'd like to mention. We have sent out some reminders. It's tomorrow at 7 p.m. The Zoom link is in our e-update. It's called the Nurtured Heart Approach, and it's it's our last quarterly workshop for the year. And our parents, we've had excellent feedback from our parents that these workshops have been greatly appreciated. So again, take a look at the coming events, and I'll move it on to
School committee requests for future agenda items and legal opinions. So Donna and then Chris. Donna.
Okay. I am making this request based on what we heard this evening. And I am not going to be able to attend the June meeting, so I would like it to be on a future, this recommendation to be on a future meeting, because I'd like to be present. But I think we need to review our code of conduct. I've said that several times, and I think it's probably time to look closely at that code of conduct.
Okay, if you could just put that in an email for me, I would appreciate it.
I will.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Morone?
Chris Marone from Hope Valley. I was going to try to speak earlier during the comment, but I had to keep logging into the door. But I just wanted to see if you guys, when you go through forward for the stage 2 for the elementary schools, wherever that is, if you try to discuss maybe reevaluating which schools you decide to close, because it seems like Richmond is being talked about by being worse conditions. Maybe Hope Valley.
That's actually, I understand what you're
just the
saying.
future agenda.
That was not part of the Hope Valley closure has nothing to do with the planning of this construction and renovation.
It never did, but I'm just saying, you're gonna have to redo that whole thing, you're saying, in the future.
Yeah, it actually had to do more with the inability to extend it.
But we can certainly
Discuss.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
In favor? No. Thank you.